I think more people will distance themselves further from veganism due to that behavior. So, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gita Mary and today I have a reaction commentary style video for you guys. So just a little bit of context. I didn't know I would be making this video. I thought this was a very closed chapter in sort of my career. But recently Plant-Based News shared a video of me from 2018 debating a meat eater at Brain Bar Festival in Budapest. And it was a pretty long time ago. I had pretty much forgotten about this debate altogether, but it was one of the bigger milestones in my online sustainability public speaker career. I just didn't know anyone found it interesting today. However, they did, so we're gonna talk a little bit about it, but we're gonna talk specifically about some of the comments, and we're gonna tie that all into body shaming and veganism, because honestly, you guys, we can do better. But before we can talk about this video is sponsored. This video is sponsored by Ren. Ren is an online carbon offsetting platform where you subscribe with a monthly donation and you can support different types of projects. And they have all different types of projects, not only the tree planting options, but they also have green energy and natural conservation. Now, carbon offsetting has quickly become a really big industry and there's a lot of different options out there, but I love that Ren is super transparent with how they're using their money and what kind of projects their money is going to. You can check all of that out on their website. And the first 100 people to use the link in my description will get their first month of donations covered for free by Ren. Pretty cool. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into the tea, or the beef, if you will, pun intended. In 2018, I was asked to debate a meat eater at an event in Budapest. It was one of the first big public speaking events that I attended. It was very early in my lecturing, and at this point in time, I've given over 100 lectures and been to 100 public speaking events, so a little bit has changed, definitely. But this is definitely a milestone for me, and it's an experience that I overall look back at and was really happy with how it went. Firstly, because I felt like I had researched pretty well. I had some talking points that I knew I wanted to get through, and I feel like I got through them. I was pretty nervous, and you can also see that in the video for sure. Overall, we actually agreed on a lot of different points, but the sort of format here was that we needed two extreme opinions to talk to each other, and every time we sort of gravitated toward a middle ground, the moderator would be like, no, don't agree, no, it's no, which is not necessarily something that's beneficial to either person in the debate, nor to the people that's watching it. And had I been in that situation today, I would definitely have done things differently or said something, etc. Brain Bar posted the video and it didn't have a lot of views, and I haven't looked at it in ages. Then Plant-Based News posted their commentary towards the video, and I think they make it seem as though it's a new thing in their video when it's from 2018. So I went back and I looked at the original video, and it had a substantial amount of views. I think it had 50,000 views and a lot of different comments, and now it's being promoted on another platform that also has a really wide audience. And I think there's a very specific type of behavior that I see again in these comments that I think we should collectively take responsibility for and hold each other accountable for. So without further ado, what I want to talk to specifically is body shaming in the vegan community, body shaming in veganism in general. So I know that when you post yourself online, there is a natural risk that people might comment on your body. I am well aware of this fact. I've been aware of this fact for a while. I think, however, it's interesting that it happens a lot in veganism because we want people to be vegan. And a really bad way to convince someone to go vegan is by criticizing their body. So when I saw a lot of these comments, I was initially a little bit surprised because I thought we had moved past that, but apparently we hadn't. And it also made me realize, or it reminded me at least, that we have different views on veganism and we have different reasons for being vegan. So my overall stance with veganism is that for me it's the most low impact way that I am able to live. And it does change for other people. There is so much room for nuance here. That I know people who are vegans, which means that they like only eat plant-based foods, but then they dumpster dive animal products, etc., which is also completely fine. Then there are people in native communities, indigenous communities, that have another type of food system, which is also sustainable. So obviously there is plenty of room for nuance. Also, I've talked about diet culture before in one other video, diet culture and veganism, so some of these points might be a little bit repetitive if you've seen that video, but it is actually a little bit old, so if you haven't seen that video, it might be relevant to watch that video as well. I'm also talking a little bit about my own issues with body image and my own ED, and we know that we should never look at the comments, but one of the things that I definitely saw as a little bit of a we need to talk about this is watching other people discuss whether or not you are malnourished, or whether or not you are super fit, or whether or not you're obese, or whether or not you're healthy or unhealthy. And it's really interesting to see how still today so many people think that they can determine your health based only on a glimpse of what you look like. So, however, it's not actually me I want to talk about today. It's how people describe and talked about my opponent. How some people talked about my opponent who they clearly disagreed with. This was comments made by what I can only assume to be people that are plant-based or vegetarian or vegan, etc., or have altered their diet in one way or another to be more sustainable, healthy, ethical. You have it, whatever. The one thing that I thought was really worrying, as well as just overall incredibly disappointing, was how quick some people are to weaponize people's bodies against them. I did see a couple of people trying to make points that how someone looks has really nothing to do with what we're saying. However, I think I want to say this to everyone in the vegan community, that if we want other people to explore and experience plant-based foods, sustainable foods, local seasonal produce, primarily plant-based. I have many buzzwords, don't you worry. We shouldn't weaponize people's bodies against them as though that has any relevance. And I think, and this is where the older diet culture video sort of comes in, a lot of people's initial experience with veganism and a lot of the sort of roots a lot of people have with veganism, not everybody, but a lot, came from like early YouTube, early sort of vegan YouTube, where everything was very health focused. And I think that creates a foundation of understanding for a lot of people in the vegan community, which means that you become more body focused, you become more aware of what you look like and what other people looks like, and you tie that essentially to their behavior. I think one very, very important point that I am really honestly a little bit baffled that we have to make is that plus-sized people are vegan too. There are many plus-sized vegan or plant-based people out there. There are also plenty of fit, skinny meat eaters. I feel like we fail each other as human beings a little bit when we, in our pursuit to be ethical and sustainable, in our pursuit to convince other people to be ethical and sustainable, choose a way of doing that that is the cruelest and absolutely most demeaning and alienating way that we can possibly do. And yes, you are very entitled to be angry about what's happening in the world overall, in general, human abuse, animal abuse. Factory farming is an intensely infuriating industry. It's okay that you're angry. I feel, however, it is our noblest task to, while we are furious and angry and devastated and sad, to project or to direct those emotions in the correct direction. Instead of just looking at the first person that just slightly symbolizes the topic you're furious about and then just absolutely hail them down. It's unconstructive for you, mental health wise. Also, it is really detrimental to the vegan, plant-based, sustainable eating movement overall. No one ever has been body shamed into veganism. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times. I know I've mentioned this a couple of times, but in my very early YouTube days, I recently just did a video about how I react to one of those, or like several of those early videos. But I made a video in my early days where I wasn't vegan, I wasn't vegetarian, but I was trying to be zero waste. And I made a video called Why I Will Never Be Vegan, where I listed in a much misinformed, naive, and all in all just really toxic way all the reasons why veganism doesn't work without really having understood anything about it or researched anything about it. It was just gut feeling. And there was plenty of people that corrected me, and in a lot of ways, a lot of the comments that I got from that video, I have used as a foundation to sort of build my own understanding of veganism, because a lot of people saw that she means well. She doesn't know, she doesn't understand. This is the information she should be looking up. Go and check that out. And over time, I did just that. However, a lot of people also went straight to, well, you do look like you eat a lot and perhaps you should eat less. A lot of people went straight to, well, your body is looking like this. That's really ugly. That's because you eat a lot of meat. If you ate vegan, if you went vegan, you wouldn't look like that. You don't know. You have literally no idea. You have no clue. So I always think it's a little bit funny when we try to convince ourselves as a global society that fat shaming doesn't really exist, or that we aren't necessarily that shallow, and like plus-sized people, fat people aren't treated differently in society, when we are so quick to weaponize people's bodies against them. And that doesn't only go for fat people or plus-sized people, but simply just people that in a video has a little bit of a double chin when she's speaking. The bar is literally in hell, and it just makes it so much more difficult for people to see all the good that plant-based eating can bring you. So a point I want to make here is that if you disagree with someone, if you think that what someone is saying is based on misinformation or is incredibly intolerable, don't go straight to insulting their bodies, because what people look like has nothing to do with their opinions. They can be absolutely dingbats without that having anything to do with their bodies whatsoever. And the thing is, a lot of vegans, a lot of environmentalists might have the same body type as the people you're insulting right now, and they will internalize that. Everybody will internalize that. You're literally not helping anyone whatsoever. So if you disagree with someone, find a valid argument against what they're saying. Don't comment on what they look like. I don't know. The internet is a kindergarten. We obviously know that. I just think it's very important that a tone is being established on this platform, especially because that's where I have control over my little part of the internet, and I get to decide what comments are available and what comments are not. And let just this be known, if you comment on anyone's body, even people we disagree with, even people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, if you comment on people's bodies in a negative way, or actually also in a positive way, it can also be a little gross the other way, I'm gonna delete you and it's gonna be blocked. Just one thing that I think is very important to not do with veganism, and I've seen content creators do this, I've seen people in the comments do this constantly, and it just really icks me. It really, really, really icks me, mostly because my point of view and why I'm vegan, the majority of that is environmentalism, is impact. It's pure impact. It's not pure impact, obviously, because there is an ethics part of it as well, but it started out as purely environmental, then I started dabbling in both health and, you know, the ethics part of it. But to this day, environmentalism, the impact is what drives me, it's what motivates me, it's what fuels me, and it's what makes me stay vegan. It's the impact. Okay, I also saw some comments saying that it was a shame that I talked so little about ethics because ethics is what drives every vegan, which is simply not true. There are a million reasons why someone would choose this lifestyle, and assuming that everyone has the same motivation as you is just insane, but I digress. One thing that I definitely see is that people take veganism and put it on a pedestal, makes it the culprit of your entire health history, finds tiny evidence to suggest that you went vegan and all these health problems went away, which means that every issue can be solved with veganism, which is obviously not true. There are plenty of unhealthy vegans, just as there are plenty of healthy meat eaters. It's not necessarily that deep. There's plenty of research to suggest the multiple health benefits there is to a primarily plant-based diet. Tons of evidence to suggest that there are many benefits to it. But that's a very different statement from saying that you can solve all health issues by going vegan. That is ableist shit. It's just completely untrue. And it's very detrimental to how people view veganism from the outside. We want more people to come in, right? Right? And one thing that I keep thinking when I see these comments about meat eaters' bodies and, oh, she's clearly the meat eater, comparing them to dinosaurs and just all this absolutely horrible stuff, is that their motivation to stay vegan is very different from my own, because I want to portray veganism as a nice, fun, tasty, delicious and exciting experience. I found joy of cooking and grocery shopping and developing new recipes in veganism. I've used it in so many positive ways, and I want to share that with other people. And bonus, it's so much more sustainable than factory farming. It's so much more sustainable overall, usually. There are still loads of problems in our food systems. Even if our food systems are vegan, we have imported goods, we have the impact of exotic fruits being flown to Scandinavia, we have avocados, nut production. We have more things to worry about. Something is not inherently perfect because it's vegan. At least I've got many comments from people that assume that I inherently think something is perfect or sustainable because it's vegan. So I want to spend my platform showing the balance and talking about all the other issues that are also definitely still present. I especially love this comment: who looked healthier, the vegan or the meat eater? Girl, I was rife with eating disorder. Rife. I hope in the future that we as a community can distance ourselves from this incredibly toxic, incredibly triggering, incredibly detrimental narrative that people's bodies dictate their health of their worth. I do think distancing ourselves from this aspect, from this narrative, will make more people interested in trying out and experimenting with plant-based food. And isn't that what we want, ultimately? Anyway, I would love to hear your opinion, so leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a big thank you to Vryn for sponsoring this video. I'll hope to see you guys in the next video, and take really good care of yourselves. Until next time, bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green, zero-waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!